Hey, what's up YouTube? It's your boy, S21 Walliver, back again, coming right at you with another daily, high-quality book review. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so, in today's episode, we are going to be reviewing the novel A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. This fantasy novel is the first book in Martin's famous series, A Song of Ice and Fire, which you will probably know as the book series which the incredibly popular HBO show, Game of Thrones, is based off of. This book is aimed at an older audience, as the storylines are complex and very mature. Martin does not shy away from anything, and the truths of war and death are not at all glossed over in this book. Anyway, the biggest and first question in all book reviews is, of course, did I like the book? And to that I answer with a resounding yes. The book is amazing, and I would highly recommend reading it, especially if you are a fan of the show like I am. The book is absolutely incredible on multiple fronts. It blends together some truly impressive historical, fantastical, and personal elements. There are dragons and magical wolves, there are large-scale military conflicts based off of real-life wars, and there are also heartfelt moments between fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, and whatnot. Alright, but now we gotta get into the fun part, the story of the book. It's a lot of info, so get ready. To put it simply, and keep in mind this is a brief summary, so don't get mad at me if something isn't exactly correct, the feudal civilization of Westeros is a fictional continent based off of medieval Europe. It is divided into 7 distinct kingdoms, each with their own royal family. The north is ruled by the Starks of Winterfell. It is a cold and harsh place with harsh and superstitious people who worship the old gods, nameless and faceless gods from an ancient time. The kingdom of the Riverlands, ruled by the Tullys of Riverrun, is a small kingdom sitting right in the middle of several very large and powerful kingdoms. Its lack of natural borders helped it to be wealthy from trade, but it also suffers greatly during times of war. The Vale, ruled by the House of Arryn of the Eyrie, is an ancient and noble kingdom filled with high, impenetrable mountain ranges and very proud people. The Westerlands, ruled by the Lannisters of Casterly Rock, is a ludicrously wealthy kingdom, due to the gold beneath almost every inch of ground. The Reach, ruled by the Tyrells of Highgarden, is also a ludicrously rich kingdom, although their wealth stems from their fertile fields, which grow more food than any other kingdom. The Stormlands, ruled by the Baratheons of Storm's End, is another harsh and unforgiving place. Battered by incredible storms and high-speed winds, the people of the Stormlands have grown very warlike over the centuries. Finally, the Seventh Kingdom, Dorne, ruled by the Martells of Sunspear, is the most alien of the 7 kingdoms. It is covered with deserts and exotic animals, and the people who live there trace their ancestors to the Rhoynar, a group of people who migrated to the continent from distant lands centuries ago. All 7 of these kingdoms, as well as all the people and nobles within them, bow to the Iron Throne of King's Landing. Whoever sits on this throne, made from the burnt and twisted swords of Aegon the Conqueror's enemies, the man who conquered all 7 of the kingdoms with the help of his 3 dragons and made them his vassals, rules over every single person in Westeros. The Iron Throne was held for centuries by the Targaryens, descendants of Aegon the Conqueror, who used the incredible power of the dragons to rule with iron fists, until Robert I of House Baratheon rose up against them in a great rebellion, with the help of House Stark, Arryn and Tully, and eventually Lannister. At the beginning of the story, King Robert now sits on the throne, ruling over the 7 kingdoms from his capital city of King's Landing. Are you beginning to see what I meant about how detailed the setting of this story is? And I haven't even scratched the surface yet. To fully understand, you really have to read over the map in the book yourself. Anyway, the plot of this first book mostly follows the members of the Stark family, whose noble and honorable father, Lord Eddard Stark, has been summoned by his old friend and war companion, King Robert, to go south and serve as the Hand of the King. Of course, conflict ensues when the noble Eddard Stark's moral compass comes into conflict with the tough decisions he must make as a player in the grand Game of Thrones. At the same time, far to the east in Essos, a different continent in the Song of Ice and Fire, a young Daenerys Targaryen, exiled after her family lost the Iron Throne to Robert Baratheon, is sold by her brother Viserys into marriage with the savage warlord Khal Drogo, in hopes that he will give Viserys an army, which he can take back the 7 kingdoms with. At the same time as this, north of the north and north at the Wall, a massive fortification built thousands of years ago to protect Westeros from the evils which lie beyond, Jon Snow, the bastard son of Eddard Stark, joins the Night Watch, an ancient brotherhood sworn to guard the Wall. Here, Jon Snow discovers the reawakening of an evil long thought to be dead to the world, the powerful and mysterious Others, White Walkers for all you TV show people, who can resurrect and control the dead, and whose coming foretells the long night, a winter which will last until the end of the world and end all life as we know it. Alright, that's just a short summary of all the crazy stuff going on in this book. There's also giants and green tree people and a lot of other stuff that I don't have time to go over. Alright, so more impressive than all this crazy stuff is the guy who made up all of this crazy stuff. George R. Martin. I have a massive amount of respect for this guy, mainly because of how much work he puts into making these books, and he's earned a lot of recognition for this as well. He's earned a total of 13 major awards, including an Emmy. Not all of the recognition he gets, a lot of the recognition he gets also comes from the themes he puts into these books, especially the themes of strong women characters and their equality to men. Two of the main protagonists and the main antagonist are women, even though they are characters who live in a time period where women should not be major figures in society. But it's also important to know that he didn't do this without historical context. Cersei Lannister, the main antagonist, is not powerful in the traditional feudal sense. She's powerful because she's clever and cruel, and she's an extremely compelling character because of this. Another crucial theme to the novel is the themes of nihilism, which are present throughout the entire book. Basically, in George's view, and in the book's world, there is no such thing as good and evil. Evil characters, such as Cersei, are motivated by the most traditionally pure motives. She does what she does for the love of her children, and characters who you would consider good, such as Ned, let their traditionally valiant trades like honor force them into making horrible choices which screw everything up for everyone they love. This is something that I found very interesting about the book, and the show when I first watched it. That not knowing who's good or bad, not knowing who you like and who you don't, makes for a very compelling story. There are many occasions in this book where there's conflict between two characters and you don't know whose side you're on, because you love both of them. And even though they hate each other, you don't know who you want to win. This not knowing who's good and who's bad is what in my opinion differentiates the book from other stories in the same genre, such as Lord of the Rings. Now there's a lot of stuff George borrows from Tolkien's books, and you can tell they were a massive inspiration for him, as they are for most fantasy writers. But what George does better is avoid the trap of purely black and white morality that Tolkien's books fall into. In those novels, you know exactly who's good and exactly who's bad, and both sides' motivations for being good or bad are never explained. This makes their whole character fall flat. And the one thing you can never say about the characters in Game of Thrones is that they fall flat. And I really do want to go back into the characters, because some of the stuff they say, some of the things they do, will always stick with me after reading this book. There's a scene where Daenerys Targaryen eats the heart of a horse, raw. Like somebody tore the heart out of a living horse and she was forced to eat the whole thing without throwing it up. Like that's just impressive. And now whenever I think of that character, that's the first thing I think of. If she can do that, she can do anything. And that line from Cersei, the namesake of the book and the TV show, when you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. There is no middle ground. Like, that's it. That's the whole story. You win or you die. That's what the title means. If you want to seek power, if you want to take that risk, you're starting down a path which only has two ways out. You can either go forward to victory, and you'll have to accept whatever horrors which you may have to commit to make that a reality, or you could go backwards to death. For me, that's what the book is about. Choices. Choices and the characters who make them, and accepting the responsibility of whatever consequences you face because of those choices. But that's just what I got out of the book. There are so many different ways that you can read this book, so many different things you can take away from it, because it's so complex and it's so deep that you really have to read it for yourself. So I highly, highly recommend reading this book. With parental consent, of course, because it's quite risque. Alright, so, final review, final score. We are giving this book a, drum roll please, 7 out of 8. Great book, mate. No debate. Appreciate. So, that is it from me. S21 Walliver, signing out. If you enjoyed this video, please dab on that like button. Comment winner is coming in the comment section below. And do make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified whenever another daily book review is released. I really do appreciate it. Bye.